All right, chemistry, let's look at our worksheet for Chapter 2, Section 2. Let's start with number 1. These are very short and somewhat easy calculations, but I want to remember a classroom policy that I do enforce is that you have to show your work in order to receive credit for that problem or that assignment. So even though these are fairly simple, you can probably do these in your head. I'm not assessing whether or not you can do things in your head, because the difficult things that we're moving towards later in the course are not things you can do in your head. So why practice something that's not going to help you in the long run? So we're going to start with 100 milliliters. Now I'm going to set up a conversion factor using a statement of equality. Now there's a statement of equality that relates milliliters and liters, and you probably know that off the top of your head. It's that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter. So my statement of equality, 1,000 milliliters equals 1 liter. You guys probably know that off the top of your head. But how you use this information to create your conversion factor goes into initially using the units first. A lot of students make the mistake of looking at numbers first, trying to match up numbers in their calculations, and that will lead you towards ruin. Go units first. And how do you do that? Well, I was given milliliters by the problem, and so I want to get rid of them. The only way I can get rid of them is if I put them on the bottom, the denominator of my conversion factor. Well, I've already accounted for the milliliters. Now let's move on to liters. The only place that can go is on the numerator. So look what happens. When I actually multiply everything through, the milliliters will cancel, and so milliliters will no longer be there. The only unit that is left in the calculation is liters. All right, and that's what I want. I want to calculate an answer in terms of liters. Now, what numbers do I plug in here? We'll just look at my statement of equality. How many milliliters? 1,000. How many liters? 1. All right, so 100 times 1 is 100. Divided by 1,000, we're actually going to come up with 0.1. And it's important to know, I mean, it's not critical, but by convention, we always include the 0, okay? And we don't just write 0.1, we write 0.1. All right, B, in that same way, I'm given 0.25 grams. I want to convert out of grams into centigrams. Well, remember, this is centi, okay? So there are 100 centis in one regular thing, and these are grams. A little off the left thing there. So 100 centigrams in 1 gram, right? Centi as in like centimeter. Okay, same thing, just instead of meters, talking about grams here. So 100 centigrams in 1 gram. Well, this is my statement of equality, so I can fill in the numbers here. 100 centigrams in 1 gram. The units will cancel. My answer will be in terms of centigrams. Simple calculation. You can do this in your head or in the calculator. I don't mind either way. It's 25 centigrams. Now we're going to get into a little bit of muddy water, a little bit of trickiness, but see if you can follow along. It's going to help you here. So we have 400 centimeters cubed, and we're trying to go into liters. Now hopefully you recognize that cubic centimeters, it's a unit for volume, as is liters. They're both volume, so I should be able to convert between them. But how do I get from this base unit of meter into a base unit of liter? Well, remember that 1 cubic centimeter is equal to 1 milliliter. That's a statement of equality that I stressed during the video lecture, and this is why it is so important. So I can actually create a conversion factor in which I convert away from cubic centimeters and into milliliters. So cubic centimeters will cancel. So my only unit that I have left is milliliters. You say, Johnson, I don't want my answer to be in terms of milliliters. I want it to be in terms of liters. Well, now that I'm in milliliters, I can set up a second conversion factor, convert from milliliters to liters, using the same conversion factor I used up here on A. All right, so 1,000 milliliters to 1 liter. Now, if you plug this into your calculator, you'll type in 400 times 1 times 1, and you'll divide all of that by 1 times 1,000. So functionally you're dividing 400 by 1,000, which ends up being 0.4. Remember, include this 0, okay, 0.4, not just 0.4. Now, D is the trickiest of them all. So I'm actually going to try to do this over here on the left so we have a little bit more room here. One thing that is important, or sorry, the thing that's important to realize is this is not converting centimeters to meters. It is converting cubic centimeters to cubic meters. And that means we're taking 1 meter and multiplying it by itself 3 times. Okay? That's how you get meters cubed. Now, what a lot of students forget is you're not just multiplying the units, you're also multiplying the values associated with the units. Now, in this case, 1 times 1 times 1 is simply 1. Here we get 1 cubic centimeter. But when I go to substitute for 1 meter, when I go to substitute 1 meter for 100 centimeters, right, because that's the same length, 100 centimeters, and you guys will agree that these are equal, times 100 centimeters times 100 centimeters, and I'm accomplishing the exact same thing as I did up here in this sample, and so I will yield the exact same volume as I did up here in this first sample. I'll have a unit of cubic centimeters. But remember, we have to also multiply the values associated with the units. So that's 100 times 100 times 100, which ends up being 1 million. Okay? So a lot of students make the mistake of thinking that 100 cubic centimeters is equal to 1 meter cubed because 100 centimeters go into 1 meter. That's not the case when you start cubing things, okay? Because you got to remember, this is what you're doing to accomplish this cubing. So it's actually equal 1 meter cubed is equal to 1 million cubic centimeters. So we're going to use that information to set up our conversion factor. 400 cubic centimeters. Set up our conversion. Okay, 1 million cubic centimeters is equal to 1 cubic meter. My cubic centimeters will cancel out, and the function that I'm left to carry out is 400 times 1, and then divided by 1 million. Now it might be a little bit easier for you to use your calculator here. It's going to be 0.0004.